Well, it's 7:30, so we'll start the Cabinet meeting for today, the 18th of November. Thank you all very much for coming. Must be our best attended Cabinet meeting. Simi Diani is delayed, so we will start without her, but yes, apologies for lateness from Simi. So we'll start with the minutes. Can we confirm the minutes and the decisions from the previous meeting?
Agreed.
Thank you. Apologies for absence. As I've said, Cindy is running late, so that may be apologies. Item 3, declarations of interest. 4 items on the agenda. Do I have any declarations of interest? Okay, thank you. Public participation, we have none. Referrals to Cabinet, there were no referrals to Cabinet. Item 6, the Cabinet forward plan, as set out in the agenda. Are we happy to agree the forward plan? Yeah. Thank you. Item 7, local government reorganisation in Hertfordshire. We had a debate on this item at the extraordinary meeting on the 12th of November, which allowed comments from all members, which have been recorded in the published minutes. Today, as a Cabinet, we are asked firstly to note the indicative resolution of full council. The indicative vote of the full council was that the council, Dacorum Borough Council, should submit the local government reorganisation proposal and identify the modified 4 unitary option, brackets 4 UA modified, as preferred, and request that the Secretary of State formally modify the proposal by agreeing boundary changes as set out in the proposal. The vote for this at full council was 26 in favour of the modified option that I've just read out, and 16 for the unmodified 2 unitary authorities. There were no votes for the 3 unitary authorities. 9 councillors either sent apologies or were absent from the meeting. At the extraordinary meeting, I committed to listen to the will of the council. As a majority expressed a view that Dacorum should identify the modified 4 unitary authority as the preferred model, I recommend to Cabinet that this option should be submitted to the Secretary of State. The ultimate decision on the number, size and structure of the new unitary authorities lies with the Secretary of State. The criteria set have been undermined by the changes to the Secretary of State and ministers, and briefings that have identified criteria, including population, do not need to be observed. I'm proud that Hertfordshire leaders have been one of the few 2-tier areas to agree a common set of financial and geographic projections to put forward to government. Protecting the delivery of vital and huge services representing adults and children's social care, as well as education, from excessive fragmentation and risk of internal competition between the new unitaries needs to be prioritised. And I hope that whatever the Secretary of State decides, adequate protection is put in place to ensure the unitaries projected to be at risk, to protect the unitary, the single unitary in the documents that is projected to be at risk of financial collapse. The 3 unitary option received no votes at Dacorum. There was a strong feeling at the council that the Hemel Garden communities should be included in any, the Hemel Garden communities should be included in any unitary that includes Hemel Hempstead. I have agreed with the group leaders that we write to the Secretary of State to request that in the event that the government selects the 3 unitary model, that a review of the principal boundary be carried out to consider aligning all of Hemel Garden communities' growth areas within the same unitary authority as Dacorum Borough Council. Many councillors spoke of the need for local representation And as Liberal Democrats, we have a strong belief in and credentials for promoting localism. So we share the view that local voices need to be heard. We have strong town and parish councils across nearly half the borough, and we will be bringing forward a proposal for a community governance review to consider the options for the unparished Hemel Hempstead areas. The government's own proposals are for local neighbourhood committees that will include wider representation from local stakeholders, including the police, health services, and where they exist, town and parish councils, to ensure improved community engagement in delivering services. The Liberal Democrats did not seek this reorganisation. It comes at a time of great upheaval to our health structures and planning regulations, as well as at a time when the cost of living crisis continues to bear down on many residents. There are benefits to unitary authorities, and I am assured that all those who have gone through the process already would not wish to reverse it. A unitary authority will provide a one-stop council for residents and a rethinking of the delivery of services to improve outcomes, such as the integration of housing with social care. It is disappointing that some people have chosen to put party politics ahead of their judgment as to the best outcome for residents. The mental gymnastics to move from wanting a single county-wide unitary that would have precluded a strategic mayoral authority with fiscal devolution to wanting 4 unitary authorities is something for Matt Whitlock to behold. I am disappointed that others have resorted to personal threats. I guess this is the so-called rough and tumble of politics. Regardless of the threats, I committed to listen to the will of the council and will abide by that promise. I appreciate that views differ on the best outcome for residents. Nevertheless, we must all work together for the benefit of our residents, and the ongoing improvement of the delivery of services in decorum remains our priority. I invite comments from my Cabinet colleagues. Want to go first? Okay. Caroline.
I'll go first. Thank you, Sally. Chair. Yes, I believe we must approach this decision with integrity and without fear. As a Liberal Democrat administration, collaboration and teamwork sits at the heart of how we lead. We listen to each other, we respect differing views, and we work together for the common good. While I firmly believe that a 2-unitary model is the most resilient and financially stable option for Hertfordshire, one that keeps council strong, reduces duplication in the children and adult sector, and avoids unnecessary costs to our residents. I also recognise that colleagues, after careful consideration, will reach a different conclusion. Democracy means we will not always agree, and that is healthy. What matters is that we stay united in purpose and respectful in our decisions. The majority position is to support a 4-unitary model, and although I have reservations about the cost and long-term impact, I accept and respect that democratic vote. For that reason, and in the spirit of teamwork and collective responsibility, I will support the 4-unitary proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Adrian, did you want to speak?
Thank you. So in all the focus on voting, I think I want to express my main sentiment about local government reorganisation, which is regret about the amount of front-loaded resource which has had to go into it. Lots of prep that's been done by the officers, incredible amount. And these are officer teams who are already stretched at district and at county. And it's not really clear what the benefits are definitely going to be. I think in the room last week there was a lot of well, thank you to the officers for doing all this work, but we're not sure whether we believe it in some cases, which I really struggle with. I think that the work that's been done is the best guide that any of us is going to get for the future of the 3 options that remain. I was in the room as leader when there were 4 options. And a couple of times, I really urged everyone in that room to try and narrow those options down so that we could spend less time working out things that are never going to happen, because two of these options are not going to happen. So as Sally said, I probably speak for all of us, I'm a Liberal Democrat. There's a clue in the title. And this council has voted with 26 votes out of 51, which is a majority of the council. As it happens, the decisive vote was cast by a Liberal Democrat councillor who, like all the Lib Dems, had a free vote, wasn't told what to do. So there wouldn't be a majority of this council in support of 4 if it wasn't for the fact that the Lib Dems had a free vote and one of us came to a different conclusion to the rest of us. Another district in council in Hearts, their meeting last week voted in favour of a 2 unitary model, despite the leader of the council's minority administration back in the 4 unitary. And remains to be seen what's the outcome's going to be there. But somebody who was at that meeting said the real reason we should go for a 2 rather than 4 is the financial one. The central unitary will probably be bankrupt within a few years unless something is done. It's my understanding that responsibility for that liability will also rest on the council taxpayers of decorum, and that will be effectively an open cheque, unless the government comes along and says we're going to completely underwrite this, which they don't usually do. So that was my main reason for not voting for 4. I was actually really surprised that there weren't more people who came to that conclusion, bearing in mind some of the debates that I've been in that chamber over several years. Very often the financial argument has been made as if it was the only argument. So the leader of the Conservative group in that council actually also voted in favour of a 2 unitary model. This is a different council. And he said that a 4 unitary option would be disruptive, reckless, and irresponsible. He said the central unitary authority would have a massive budget deficit in its first year, and it was all wrong. And I agree with Ralph. He said, Ralph's a county councillor actually. It'd be interesting to see what he does tomorrow. He said the Conservative group would reluctantly vote for the 2 unitary option to help ensure that the 4 unitary model was off the table. So this is a big contrast with the position of the Conservative group in decorum. We've seen councillors who once advocated for a single unitary now speak in aid of 4. And, you know, perhaps go back to my first conclusion, which is it's just as well that the Secretary of State will look at the evidence document and decide what they think. So in each case, a vacuum is created. In 4 unitaries, Central Hearts sucks in cash, open-ended, from southwest, the west and the east. In a 3 unitary, the Hemel Garden community is cleaved in half, and that will have to be resolved. But in the meantime, it may well damage the momentum of that project, which means we won't get as many homes built. And in the case of 2, the word devolution is just lost in space. So favouring 2 unitaries, at least with such a sweeping change, obviously I do have a Hertfordshire perspective here as well. The crucial child and adult safety risks, I think, should figure highly in our thinking. I got quite a long way along with this whole process, looking at all the maps and, you know, trying to, I think I was in a meeting once where there were 36 options for how things could be worked out, so at least it did get narrowed down a bit. But when I realised that there was a risk to vulnerable children, vulnerable adults from undertaking so much change, it made me actually finally come down on 2. So, you know, obviously I'm a Democrat, but I think it's really important that, that we consider the risks. I think that's probably what I've got to say. There's lots of different ways of looking at it, but the bottom line is that my mailbox is not full of queries about what am I going to do, what should we do. I think there's just masses and masses of, there's probably a list of 50 things we should be spending more time on. But we have to come up with a recommendation because we are supposed to be leaders, and we're you know, the council has come together, spent an evening having a proper debate about it, and a vote has been taken, and the vote was taken 26 to 16 for 4. So I'm going to vote for that tonight.
Thank you, Adrian. Robin.
The original inspiration for local government reorganisation seemed to be to reduce the roadblocks to planning permission for the well-intentioned 1.5 million homes ambition promised by the new government. But from my perspective, as a member of the Development Management Committee, the district level of local government is not really an obstacle to home building. So then the whole project became about efficiencies. And the government, in Jim McMahon's response to the original submission, favours replacing the loss of local representation with neighbourhood area committees or local democratic forums. Seems dismissive of town councils, but we have had the neighbourhood action groups. Their derelict notice boards are dotted around our street verges. Without power and accountability, it really isn't local representation. Much should be improved in local government, but I'm sceptical that those improvements or efficiencies will be brought about by changing the scale of the operations in this way. A lot of them are already the right size, I think. So county council is going to be split and district operations will be combined. Of the available options, though, the 2 unitary authority configuration is considered to be the least disruptive to some organisations, such as the Crematorium Joint Committee, which I was sitting on yesterday, which covers those 5 districts. And it promises the highest efficiencies, and it is the closest to the government's original vision of 600,000 residents, which they must have had some reason for having that vision in the first place. On the other hand, of these options, the 4 unitary authority solution maintains the highest level of democratic representation. So I can see why it was a free vote, and we have seen such a variety of opinions about which way to go. We've seen other councils voting for 2, 3 and 4. So I'm in favour of honouring the majority of the opinion of the full council and forwarding that preference to the Secretary of State, which was for the 4 unitary authorities.
Thank you, Robin. William, did you want to say something?
Well, might as well go for full house. Yes, I feel that unitary authority is a good idea to take away the 2 tiers of local government that often confuses residents. Which particular type I feel unconcerned about, which of the 3 models on offer. And that is why I very strongly favoured a free vote. I'm glad we did that. I lament the fact that other parties didn't, because it leaves the slight afterthought, as mentioned by some of my colleagues, that the decision in decorum or the vote in decorum was based on interests beyond decorum's boundaries, which I think is regrettable. Nonetheless, the other reason I favour a free vote on this is that I am a strong believer that we need to do a governance review to potentially unparished areas, and that way any democratic deficit is lost and communities are more empowered. One of the most striking things about the recent debate about parish grants is this lack of equivalence, where there is seen to be a lack of fairness between how parishes are treated and unparished areas are treated. And I think that needs to be fundamentally resolved through this process, or at least residents are given the choice to resolve it through this process, through a governance review. This is something that St Albans are already a long way down the road on, and so there's a risk that if Hemel Hempstead does not become imparished like St Albans and other urban areas that might form the new authority, that Hemel Hempstead will be left out in the cold, if you like. And successful community governance reviews have been undertaken from Yorkshire down to Somerset, where unparished town areas have decided to become imparished so that they can have equal powers and local representation as other areas. So I will be supporting whatever the vote of the council was, but on the basis that we need to do a community governance review.
Thank you, William. Simi, you missed the beginning, so I explained that I was recommending to Cabinet that we follow the will of the council as expressed in the full council meeting last week. And I know you got a chance to speak last week, and I've allowed the other members of the other Cabinet members have also spoken. Is there anything that you want to add?
Thank you, Pastor. As you said, I had an opportunity to speak in the full council, and I think I would respect with the rest of the members if this is what is the will of the council to go with the full as an option. But I do have my worries. I feel it is not fully evolved option, and I still feel we, out of all three choices, 2 would have been a better choice. But again, it's something we're all going to go for, and eventually it's the ministers, it's the government who's going to decide what is going to be for us in a gift, basically. So I think option for 4 shows better representation for our resident, and I think that is the advantage of going for that. So yeah, I'll be supporting the will of the full council as well. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you. So if I can just sum up, I expect some of maybe the Cabinet already know this, and maybe some of you do too. There have been 5 Cabinet committee decisions taken in Hertfordshire so far that have been confirmed. 3 of those, that's Stevenage, Welwyn Hatfield and Broxbourne, are all supporting the 4 unitary option, and 3 Rivers and Watford Cabinet decisions, all the relevant committees are supporting the 3 unitary authority. So that's for information. I want to put on record, before we take a vote, which we will do, my thanks to all the officers, not here in Dacorum, where obviously I've worked very closely with you, but also across the county, for the absolutely enormous amount of work that has gone into this. I think it's an incredibly high quality document. I was recently with Empower, who worked with very closely, and I know that they also were very pleased and that Hertfordshire, and to be able to lead Hertfordshire bringing forward a united, an agreed spine document that whatever goes forward, at least some assumptions are all based on the same evidence base. So huge thanks to you all. I'd like to say, I hope that you can take your foot off the pedal and we can go back to business as usual, but I actually know that that's not going to be the case, and for all of you in particular, even if we step back as councillors, once this decision is made, I know that actually it steps up for all of you. And I think we need to recognise that publicly, and that again, thank you in advance for that, and thank you for doing your absolute utmost to continue delivering the very best services to our residents. So, I think we should have a formal vote on this. I was going to read it out. Yes, I do. Yeah, okay, I do have it all written out. I'm going to read it because it's important. So it is recommended that Cabinet, 1, notes the indicative resolution of full council. 2, agrees to option A, B or C below. I think I will, can I skip to what option C is? Given so C is to submit the proposal and identify the modified 4 unitary option, 4UA modified, as preferred, and request that the Secretary of State formally modify the proposal by agreeing boundary changes as set out in the proposal. 3, agrees that that authority be delegated to the Chief Executive and Leader of the Council to agree any final minor amendments to the Hertfordshire submission document prior to submission to Government by 28th of November 2025. 4, agrees that the decision is urgent and shall not be subject to call-in. 5, notes that the Mayor has agreed that the decision is reasonable in all the circumstances and has agreed that it shall be treated as an urgent decision. And finally, 6, agrees that the Leader of the Council, in consultation with group leaders, shall write to the Secretary of State to request that in the event that the Government selects the 3 unitary model, that a review of the principal boundary be carried out to consider aligning all of Hemel Garden Community's growth areas to within the same unitary authority as Dacorum Borough Council. Are we agreed?
Agreed.
I think we'll have a full show of hands.
Caroline's popped out.
Oh,
Caroline.
I think
we should wait.
Yeah, she's got some, I think, so she just had to rush out.
Okay. I think if we can just pause. Yeah. Caroline, are you okay?
Yes.
Caroline, we're just taking a proper vote of when we wanted you to be present. So did you hear most of what I read out? Okay. Right, so can we have a show of hands, please? Thank you, it's unanimous. Thank you. I'm going to move on to item 8, the Hemel Health Campus. I'm going to hand over to Adrian. And I want to thank Sheena Phillips for being online with us today. Thank you, Sheena. I'll hand over to Adrian first.
Thank you. Good evening, Sheena. Okay, good. I want to say, for the record, that I and we clearly hear and understand that many residents want a large town like Hemel to have its own fully functioning hospital. It is very hard to be a borough which has the 2nd biggest settlement in Hertfordshire and be right next to Watford, which is still presently the biggest. This council has a committee called the Health and Wellbeing in Dacorum. It used to be called Health in Dacorum. It was created because Dacorum had felt let down by the local NHS commissioning over many years. The Hillfield Road site, hospital site, always performed relatively poorly as an isolated option for the NHS trying to move towards fewer, larger acute hospitals which were capable of serving 500,000 residents, which is obviously a lot more residents than we have in Hemel or in Dacorum. I spent a lot of time trying to fight that Watford decision, as did others, 1 or 2 very notable others in this room who did it for longer than I did. But for me, between 2017 and 2022, I tried everything I could think of to persuade the NHS to pursue building a new hospital for South West Herts 500,000 people, I was listening again. And that would be between the settlements of Watford, St Albans and Hemel. In 2022, that NHS decision was made for Watford. So in 2023, when I came into the cabinet, at the time I was the deputy leader, I recognised that it was the right time to take an opportunity or explore an opportunity to move on positively, try and get some long overdue substantive investment delivered more quickly for Dacorum and Hemel Hempstead using a different method. Health investment in Dacorum, separate from the big acute hospital, has been talked about for all of the 9 years that I've been a councillor at Dacorum, but it was always an afterthought. The plans for Hemel were always talked about after we talked about the plans for Watford or wherever. So I've come to understand that that was understandable for a commissioning, desperately wanting and needing to prioritise the biggest stone in the jar. But I also recognised that there comes a time when you have to say, what are we going to get delivered for Dacorum? Are we going to carry on talking for another 9 years in my case? Or are we going to try and take an opportunity to get something done? And one of the things that really appeals to me about the health campus is that it can be delivered more quickly than building a big hospital in Watford. I think as a resident of Dacorum, resident of Hemel for 30 years, it is a really different thing for people in Hemel to be able to say we were first. This time it happened for Hemel before it happened for Watford. And I guess I would also reflect, I'm a little bit disappointed that there has been a little bit of pushback against this. I think it has been largely a Facebook situation, and I'm keenly aware, as is anybody who knocks on a decent amount of doors, that Facebook isn't the whole world. But particularly after spending so many years trying to do my best for this borough and for this town, some of the things that I've been told that I'm doing are hard. So anyway, being positive and trying to get on with it. It's great to be first. So now we can say that we have a strategic outline case for the Hemel Health Campus that is being delivered on a timeline that will be independent of whatever needs to be done in the big hospital in the area. And that is happening because this council, supported notably by, at the time, Sir Mike Penning, has taken the initiative to put forward its own land, not just to support health in Dacorum, but to regenerate a long underused site and bring some footfall related to outpatient health and preventative care, to bring that into Hemel Hempstead Town Centre. Every single town centre in the country has a struggle to bring people in. The retail is not what it was. And so we are trying to find different reasons to bring people into the town. And what I want to make very clear is that we need to recognise that by promoting its own land, it meant that we could insist that we had a seat at the table, and it meant that we could push the pace. And boy, have we pushed the pace. I think Sheena will probably confirm that normally she gets a bit longer than this to produce a strategic outline case. But we're in a hurry. Hemel's been waiting a long time. Dacorum's been waiting a long time. So, amongst other things, it's really great to be able to say that as the SOC confirms, draft SOC, Dacorum has now been selected as one of 43 places to be in the first wave of the NHS England National Neighbourhood Health Implementation Programme. Boy, is that an acronym. It's, yeah, struggle with that acronym. Essentially, we've got the 10-year plan, the NHS 10-year plan. We've got a new government with lots of energy. It's difficult being in administration, but they are pushing for this. And the reason they're pushing for this, as Kathy McAreevy will tell you, Queen's nurse, Kathy McAreevy, she will tell you that healthcare is changing. It's not about waiting until people are sick enough to be in a hospital for Pete to go and pick them up. It's about making it so that it's not like a chore. It's not like you have to go to the hospital to get yourself checked out. You can do it in the high street. And that's what we're giving people. We're giving people the chance to say, do you know what? I'm going to go to town, going on the bus. I'm going to get off in Marlowe's. I'm going to have my shopping this way. I'm going to have my health needs this way. I'm going to do it all in one go. There's loads more that's coming with the 10-year plan, with the transition. And if anybody wants to ask what's changed in the last 7 years, it's digital. It's all different. So I'll bring it to a close. Sorry, I'm going on tonight. Campus scores highest in the SOC among all the options on social value, because we can bring in the voluntary sector. The voluntary sector can be in the building, and we can have that cross-fertilisation of you go there for healthcare, but you get some social needs dealt with at the same time, or vice versa. But above all else, my heart goes back to the Hemel thing. This is a landmark building for Hemel Hempstead, and it saddens me to hear it called tiny. It's going to be the same square footage as the QE2 in Welling. And if you go to Welling, as I have, because I wanted to check it was true, the signposts all say to the hospital. Nobody in Welling, as far as I know, says that they have a tiny hospital and isn't proud of it. So I think that this is a landmark building we can be proud of. It puts Decorum's main town, which will soon be the biggest in Hertfordshire, on the map. There's always got to be a moment. It was Hemel Town Football Club the other day, but now it's Hemel Town with the health campus. It's got to be a moment when you put your flag in the ground and you say, we're on the map now. We understand. We are in tune with clinicians, government thinking. We want to do this. And because of that, Hemel is literally on the map now. The health secretary knows where Hemel is now. Actually, he does. He was here in the election, wasn't he? Yeah. Okay, he didn't know where he was. He was being driven. So I just encourage people to be uplifted by this. It's a big moment. We should enjoy it. We shouldn't be trying to say to ourselves, this is nothing. We shouldn't be trying to say to ourselves, of all things, that we are closing Hemel Hospital, because anybody who knows anything about health services knows that almost all of those health services are coming to this new building. They're going to be better. They're going to be more flexible. There's going to be more diagnostics. On top of all that social stuff that I just talked about, there's going to be more of everything. So I think we should be really happy about it. And I'm glad that we've got as far as the SOC. I have no idea, Sheena, why we need to have years more. Can we not just is there not a shortcut that you know of, something that we can do so that we can get this thing built before, I don't know, 2027?
Thank you, Adrian. Did you want Sheena to say something?
I think I'm going to throw to Catherine now. Sorry,
Okay.
Catherine, went on and on and on. Nobody's got any plans tonight, have we? Apart from Aidan, maybe, and he's probably watching it on the screen.
Thanks, Adrian. I won't go into any detail on the report, take it as read, but just to note that the strategic outline case has seen really positive collaboration between public sector partners as we look to develop those plans that will improve health services and health outcomes for the local population. And there's significant value in that public partnership approach with the ICB and West Herts Trust, and that follows best practice for place-based partnerships, and is one that aligns with future models of local healthcare, as you said. So the SOC now, understanding that there is a will to move forward at pace, and we've certainly been at pace through the course of the last few months. It's going for approval to the West Herts Trust and to ICB during November before being submitted to government in early December for approval to proceed to that outline business case. And it'll be in the outline business case, the OBC, where the detail will be thoroughly developed, and that will include a detailed funding strategy and a detailed procurement strategy for the new buildings and all of those models of new healthcare that it will support. So as Adrian said, we have Sheena here tonight to help answer any questions arising, and that's what I want to say.
Thank you. William, did you want to?
So as they say, one door closes, another door opens. But before we close the one door, everybody will be aware that there's a very sustained and vociferous campaign in defence of the existing site and refurbishing that in preference of the Market Square. And I know this has been hashed over before, but I think it'd be helpful to summarise one last time for the purposes of this meeting, how the Market Square option delivers stronger health outcomes for residents than refurbishing the existing site. I wonder if, Sheena, you could summarise that. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for that question. That's correct. There's 5 options have gone into the SOC, the strategic outline case, and one of those options is refurbishment of the Verulam wing, and the other option is, of course, this new build in Market Square. There are a number of reasons to celebrate the opportunity for Market Square, and I think that's the innovative partnership that both Catherine and Adrian have talked about between the council, ourselves and the ICB, and the opportunity to look at regeneration, housing and healthcare. So that opportunity coalescing in scoring that really promotes the Market Square location. There's also that opportunity for a new building, and what a new building can offer over reconfiguration of an existing building. So what's really critical for services going into the future is integration of services, co-location and adjacency. And currently it's a very difficult model to try and refurb an existing building such as the Verulam wing into something that actually can give that freedom for that co-location and adjacency that's really craved by the integration of our existing Hemel hospital services, HPFT, HCT, CLCH and voluntary sector services. There's also the importance of decanting. To actually build a new building means that the existing provision of services exist, and then when the new building's ready, they move. Decanting to enable a new building is a very complicated process, and as you well know, there's very limited space to actually provide services in other locations. That's a challenge then operationally to keep the lights on the delivery of services. So there's a number of reasons why the Market Square option, and also it's very much a community anchor institution that really offers a great celebration of opportunity and change in delivery of how services are delivered in Hemel.
I've got a couple more questions, if that's all right. The other one is the capacity of the building to respond to growing demand, given that the town will be growing quite rapidly in the coming years. If you
That's,
could.
that's absolutely right, and that's factored into the work we've been doing. We've been doing work on demand and capacity modelling, so taking those services that are currently provided and then actually the growth of ONS predictions, population growth, and then what that means for provision of services into the future. We're also looking at how the building, we want to use community assets to a greater degree. We want to open the building 6 days a week and actually promote more utilisation of space. But you're absolutely right, the growth is a really key part in this, and that's why the demand and capacity modelling and how that's informed what we call the schedule of accommodation is really, really critical. But it's also about how we build in a new culture in the building where it's shared space and integration and co-location of space. So rather than it's a consultant's clinic room for the week and it's always their clinic room, this is, you know, it's used by that consultant 3 afternoons and by another consultant 3 mornings, and then 2 other days are used by different consultants. A much more better use of that asset.
Thank you. You know, we've heard a lot about Adrian saying about how the sort of more modern approach, clinical approach, is key to this. So I'm keen to know what the staff, and including clinical staff and other providers, think about the Market Square.
So we ran a staff engagement meeting, and I expected it, and the others with me expected it to be really poorly attended, and 225 staff attended. It was a Teams meeting, just like I'm on today, so it was, you know, lots of boxes of faces on the screen, and lots of questions coming through, just like you're asking today. But I was frankly taken aback by the level of support that I got from those staff. And these are staff that live in Hemel Hempstead, have family that live in Hemel Hempstead, have family that use Hemel Hempstead services. And they were like, this is a perfect opportunity. And one thing that I was surprised that they actually in the chat very much hooked on to was, this is great, because this is frail patients, the difficulty they have walking up the hill to access services, and the inequality that actually services delivered on out of the town like that, further away from public transport, necessitates the need for a car. And the surprise that actually the number of people who don't have easy access to cars. And for a lot of services, we need to actually be supporting members of the community who actually find it difficult to interface with our services. So that was quite a salutary message coming through in that chat. But also just their feeling that they really want something new and something to be proud of. And they themselves and their professional and clinical expertise needs to sing in a new environment, in a new clinical model. And this is a fantastic opportunity for those staff and a real morale boosting opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheena. Did you have any further questions?
Not questions, more observations. Very interesting that you know, the consultation results in the paperwork. The written response showed that as many people, for every person who wants Hemel Hempstead Hospital to return to being an acute general hospital, there's somebody who welcomes this as a new facility. And given that the former is not available, then I think that is a strong vote of confidence for the latter. And the fact that 2/3 of the consultants, people consulted, want the effective modern care and multidisciplinary working that this marketplace option will offer is very powerful.
Absolutely. So thank you for that. Thank you for your questions. Robin, did you have a question?
I was just going to mention my perspective on this. It does seem a terrible shame that the Market Square has been vacant for so long, but I am optimistic that, in fact I'm convinced that this health campus will bring the most modern healthcare structure possible, and it, as well as the bustle, business and jobs to the Hemel Town Centre, and it looks as though it's going to happen soon as well.
Great, thank you. Any other comments, Caroline?
I shall try and speak. Yes, so the health campus is certainly the way forward. It is bespoke, state-of-the-art, and built around modern clinical practice, digital innovation, and most importantly, preventative, progressive wellness. Healthcare has changed massively. The way people receive care, the way clinicians work, the way prevention is delivered, none of it resembles the systems of the 1970s or even the 1990s. The old hospital building, people want reinstated, simply cannot provide what modern healthcare requires. Rebuilding the past won't protect our community. It would trap us in outdated models at the very moment the world is moving forward. The health campus is the way forward. It is bespoke, state-of-the-art, and built around modern clinical practice, digital innovation. In 2023, Dacorum Borough Council made something happen. We used the land to secure a seat at the table and drive progress in Hemel Hempstead. This is a place designed to keep people well, to help residents take control of their health long before they reach crisis. This is the future of healthcare. That is the direction of the NHS. The health campus is about leading the way in healthcare, progressive, preventative, community-centred wellness, not crisis care, not outdated infrastructure, not patching up the past. So I would fully support the health campus going forward, and congratulations to Adrian, who has put so much into this to get it this far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Since so much has been said, I just want to say I think there's another perspective to it, which is bringing a footfall to town centre, which again is another issue we're dealing with, and I think that's a bit of a light of a hope, I think, in that direction as well. If we go ahead with the proposal, so I'm in full support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Sheena, for coming along to answer questions, and thank you to my colleagues for all their comments. I think it's a really, really exciting opportunity. I think it's fantastic that Hemel can bring something forward after so long, and it absolutely fits the model of helping regenerate the high street if this is where it is in the end. Obviously, this is a strategic outline case, so we don't, there's still many more hurdles to go through, but whatever happens, having a new building with those excellent facilities in Hemel, I think is really exciting for everybody, and as has been said, it's something to be celebrated. It's all been said before, health is moving to prevention. Working with the voluntary sector is going to be an absolutely essential part of how we manage many aspects of our lives, health, well-being, and being a much wider part of just the end health outcome. So I'm delighted that we can, and I think from what I'm hearing, we'll take a vote on it. I think I'm hearing that we will be agreeing for this to go forward. So I will read, actually we'll just extend again, thank you, Sheena, and all your colleagues for all the work you've done, and our own team here. Catherine, I know you've been very instrumental, and again, like LGR, this is not an end, it's a beginning, and we move forward to the next phase. So I will read out the recommendation that Cabinet 1 notes the draft strategic outline case for the Hemel Health Campus project, and 2 agrees that a letter of support is signed by the leader and chief executive and submitted to Dacorum Borough Council's partners, West Hertfordshire Teaching Hospitals NHS Trust and the Hertfordshire and West Essex Integrated Care Board, to support the submission of the draft strategic outline case to NHS England and HM Treasury for formal approval. Agreed. Agreed. So the meeting ended at 24 minutes past 8.